Hola, mi gente, saludos. Hello, hello. Bienvenidos. Welcome to another episode, otro episodio de Hoy En Día TV. I'm your host and producer, Yessi Rodriguez. Happy holidays, season greetings, Feliz Navidad. Yes, we are here. It is the time to be jolly, right? We're blessed. We are favored. We have health. We can walk. We can talk. We're blessed, right? So gratitude and praise and happy holidays to you and your family. Thank you for tuning in and for being here with us today. We have an amazing show, as per usual, right? I'm going to bring on my amazing co host, Dr. Cece, the actionist. Welcome, Cece. Yes.
Hey,
Hola,
hey,
hola.
hey. Hello, hello. Feliz Navidad. I like that. I love your outfit. I love all the that's super cute. I like
Hey.
it. Festive.
So, fun fact about this here, I have a thing for capes. And so last year for a photo shoot, it was like a holiday themed photo shoot. I'm like, I want to be creative. I want to be different. Let me stand out. And voila, God downloaded this design here. So you should in the back you see the little candy canes and
Ah, okay.
yeah, so it's like
Yes. Okay.
in the back. So in the back you can't really see it. But overall, that's one of those things where it's like I just got creative and God gave me the idea and I'm like, hey, let me execute and this is what turned out. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. I love it. And the fact that you made it and you did it, that makes it even more special. So that's super cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I'm glad to have you on. I know we won't get to see you, but at least we get to hear you. So
Yes, yes,
are
yes,
you
yes.
ready for the holiday? Whoo, it's like literally like what here. It's here.
Right, right. The show must go on.
Absolutely. And so in honor of the holidays, I found some interesting information about the holiday season in just different parts of the world and how different cultures celebrate, right? Whether it be um, about connecting, showing gratitude, giving from the heart. And so you may know this, but it was fun for me to read in because I like those fun facts type of thing, right? So apparently in Mexico and parts of Latin America, families celebrate what's called Las Pasadas, reenacting Mary and Joseph's journey, followed by food, music, and togetherness. And in Germany, Christmas markets fill town squares with lights and handmade gifts, warm drinks, centering community and tradition. During Hanukkah, families gather to light the menorah, I believe that's how you say it, on resilience and celebrate miracles and perseverance. Kwanzaa focuses on unity, purpose, and collective responsibilities throughout the seven guiding principles. Diwali, the festival of lights, which I love lights, are so pretty, celebrates the triumph of light over darkness, knowledge over ignorance, and hope over despair. That's different. And also in mi cultura de Puerto Rico, right? The holiday season, believe it or not, is called La Navidad. But guess what? It's one of the longest and most festive in the world because it starts in late November and it stretches all the way through January. So can you imagine having off from PTO from like late November all the way through mid January? Like, whew, that's a lot. That sounds fun there. One of the most beloved traditions is what's called La Paranda, where friends and families surprise loved ones very late at night with music and singing traditional songs, laughing, celebrating, just turning strangers into family and homes into joyful gatherings. And then obviously they have the delicious food and the coquito, and so it's overall fun, lots of fun. What are your thoughts about that?
Wow, I didn't know that it stretched so far out. Like I didn't know that. I just learned so much just in these few little minutes that we're on. That's like super cool. And that's like
Mhm.
super sweet. And then the fact that, people are they're not making it all about like gifts and stuff like that, but like, singing and, making like you said, like, just connecting families and strangers and all that. That's really kind of cool. So did you participate? Like did you guys do something like was it every day or every week? Like how did you because that's a long time.
It is a fun
So,
time.
how was that for you, like growing up doing that?
I loved it because we were able to celebrate Thanksgiving, right? And then from there, get the family together. And then from there, just do small gatherings. And especially if you go to the island throughout this time, there's different towns that have what's called fiestas patronales, different festivals, gatherings. And that's pretty much what the fiestas patronales is. It's just a festival that honors that town. And it throughout the year, it travels to different parts of Puerto Rico, honoring different towns. And even for Puerto Rico, like the reason why it stretches so long is because they celebrate what's called Dia de los Reyes, also known as Three Kings Day, on January 6th. And this is where children place grass or hay in boxes for camels of the three kings that wake up to gifts, celebrating faith, tradition, and the magic of giving. And then also celebrating Noche Buena, which is Christmas Eve, and often the hearts of celebration, bringing the families together with food, music, dancing, storytelling. And then from there, some of the traditional foods, they have pasteles, lechon, arroz con gandules, coquito, like I mentioned earlier. So it's just overall from the end of November through January is all about getting together, fellowshipping, honoring each other, and just making it fun and festive and memorable for people.
That is awesome. That is super cool. I know like Kwanzaa, like they do it. I think it's a week long, I think Kwanzaa is or something like that. But too, even with that holiday, like it's about like they make their gifts and stuff like that. So it's more personable and that kind of thing. So that's really kind of cool. Just learning about the different cultures and how they celebrate, and that kind of thing. And then I know there's cultures that don't celebrate, and that too, but that's very, very interesting. That's really kind of cool. That's like wow. So what day in January does the stuff in Puerto Rico ends? Does that like end like on January 1, or does it go through that first week or?
So typically it ends in mid-January, so after the Three Kings Day. So slowly after the Three Kings Day, everything starts to settle down, and then people at that point it's approaching like the second week in January, so people start to go back to work and go back to the rhythm of normal day-to-day life. So
Oh,
mhm.
wow. Okay, super cool. All right. Well, hey, I love it. All the celebrations and all of that. Super cool.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned thoughtful gifts. You mentioned earlier, like handmade crafts that the culture and people that celebrate Kwanzaa do. And I love that because when it comes to gift giving, most of the meaningful gifts don't necessarily have to be pricey or expensive, right? They can be the ones that really come from your heart. So whether it be handwriting a letter, like you mentioned earlier, donating or volunteering in someone's name for a cause, a self care gift such as candles. I mean, I know I love me some candles, journals, books. You're author, you have amazing books. So definitely, for those who want to think outside the box with books, definitely look at Amazon Prime and find the books by Dr. Sandra Baker and also Nadine. They have amazing books if you're into those type of things, right? So just different gift ideas to give to your family and friends, thinking outside the box.
Yeah,
Do
I
you have
like
any
that.
suggestions or
Yeah,
ideas?
absolutely. I love like journals. I don't know. It's just like journals and planners. It's like I could buy 1,000 of them, which is kind of crazy because kind of go through these phases of where I like have these fetishes, like whether it's watches or purses or shoes, and now it's like journals and all that stuff. But I have a ton of journals and I do write in them, not every day, but I do write in them just to kind of capture a thought, or maybe I had a dream or an idea. And so just kind of putting it all in there, just to kind of chronicle some things and stuff like that. So yeah, that's really cool. And I love, like having journals. There was a video that I watched as we were driving. We had got some reception earlier on today, and in the video it was like it was a husband and wife, and they were writing out their goals. And I do this not necessarily with my husband, like writing it out on the whiteboard or anything like that, but we discussed some things, for our upcoming year and so on and so forth, like what do we want to accomplish. And for this next year, like I don't have a lot of things on the board to accomplish, but the things that I do have on the board, they're pretty lofty. So one of the goals, and I think it's important, right? Getting back to the journal is to like, I like to kind of, put things in journals like that for people. Say, hey, what are your goals for this year? It doesn't have to be anything grandiose or anything like that, but it could just be something that you might want to achieve on the daily or weekly or monthly, and not having like a bazillion goals in there. So I have 5 goals that's on our board. And one is like, to save 50K, because I know we can do it, right? So we're going to challenge ourselves to save like $50,000 this year. And I'm like, we can do it. And then also, to plan a trip, to go overseas. I'm kind of second guessing that right now after my event is happening right now. My family, but to plan that trip. And then and then the other thing is just, continuing like to build those relationships. So I like having the journals and giving that to people, putting a little note on in there, to inspire them, so that they can move forward in their journeys and stuff like that. Whatever it is, like, of talking with people throughout the year and just reminding them like, hey, you can do it. Like we chatted about this, last quarter, and you said, da, 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 da. I know you can do, just something like that. And I think that's very, very personable, and sweet, to be able to give somebody. And then they too can kind of keep it up and adopt that into their own families. I know for the new year, we write down little things on a little card, and we put it in this prayer jar, and we pray over it. And I tell you, we take it out at the beginning of like the next year, and or like the night before, actually, because it's part of what we do for the New Year's Eve. And we read the things and see if they were actually accomplished. And I kid you not, all the things that we pretty much put in the jar, just about, I would say 98% of it, we accomplish it. And that's huge for us. I'm like, so you see, like when you write your goals down, we pray over them, and then we put one foot in front of the other to make it happen. It can come true.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And with that in mind, we're actually going to go on a quick sponsor break. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
A bold builder of people, purpose, and platforms, Girls with Gigs helps high performers and those desiring to achieve more shift mindsets and activate purpose. Whether it's career or leadership development, personal branding, or knowing your worth. In the job market, transformation has never been closer, because this is where purpose meets action and dreams become destiny. Book your free consultation today at www.girlswithgigs.com.
All right, so talking about goals, the new year is knocking right around the corner. Make that your goal. Reach out to Dr. Ciandra, the Actionist. She can help you find your purpose. Whatever it is that you need to do, she will help guide you. Trust, you're going to be in good hands, right? And also, we're going to pivot over because we have a special guest that I'm excited to bring on. And this was a connection through Dr. CC. So thank you for this amazing connection. Our special guest, wow, very, very I will call her powerhouse for sure. So today I'm honored to introduce Dr. Andrea Swink, originally from Oklahoma and now St. Petersburg, Florida. Dr. Swink is a distinguished executive and industrial and organizational psychologist with over 30 years of leadership experience across education, business, construction, marketing, and hospitality throughout the U.S. She is known for her servant leadership approach, building strong partnerships and driving strategic solutions that strengthen teams, organizations, and communities. Dr. Swink is a first-generation scholar who earned both her PhD and master's in industrial organizational psychology from Keiser University and holds a bachelor's degree in organizational leadership with distinction from the University of Oklahoma. And in 2025, so this year here, she was introduced into the Keiser University, or inducted, I'm sorry, into the Keiser University Wall of Fame. Wow, we definitely got to ask her about that one. Throughout her career, she has led and owned multiple businesses, increasing enrollment by 35%, boosting revenue by over 65%, and managing multi-million-dollar projects. She is deeply committed to community service and student advocacy, leading initiatives focused on mental health, mentorship, and student-first engagement. An ordained minister, wow, another impressive, okay, ordained minister, and active member of professional and service organizations, Dr. Swink is passionate about mentoring, leadership, and just giving back. Outside of work, she enjoys riding her Harley. Oh, pretty cool hobby there. Gardening and spending time with family, especially caring for her 96-year-old grandmother. Wow. So in this powerful conversation today, we dive into servant leadership in real life, breaking generational barriers as a first-generation PhD, mental health, mentorship, and purpose-driven leadership, building organizations that actually care about people. So please join me. Without further ado, we are welcome and excited to bring on Dr. Andrea Swink. Welcome to Hoy En Día TV.
Hi. Hi.
Hello.
Oh, it's so exciting. Yes. Yes. And my eyes are open now. Like I've had a little bit of a sleep deprivation there. So yeah, I'm excited. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and all the celebrations. And it's so funny. I want to tell you what you were speaking about. I was just on with Keiser University Student Services last week, and we had a whole party about what you just talked about, all the different celebrations and everything. There was a party, and everybody was able to speak about, what they do, but then they actually educated everybody about all of the different celebrations around the world and what they do. So it's so funny because I was like, oh, this is so funny that everybody is like, oh, this is so interesting how other people celebrate. And, I'm one of those that, as long as we're celebrating anything, I'm happy. So.
I love that. And I'm so glad that we're talking about this more, right? Because I feel like as different people enter our lives, don't always know what their background may be, right? And so what
Right.
part of their celebration is, especially throughout the holiday season.
Right.
That's why I got into saying happy holidays, because I don't know what you do celebrate, right? You can celebrate Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or Christmas or what have you. But
Yeah.
so yeah, it's awesome that more and more this topic is being talked about. So that's awesome for sure.
Yeah. Uh,
So I read an amazing bio, like wow, very impressive. But in a nutshell, who do you say you are, Dr. Swink?
That's a $1 million question. If somebody has that answer, I did not see myself as a scholar growing up. When I was growing up, my parents have always been blue collar workers, and I'm very proud of that. My mom worked at the school wherever I was going to school at my whole life. I remember when I was a kid, my mom was a custodian, and my fondest memories, and I know this sounds crazy, but she's like, we got to go in and we got to clean the toilets. That's just what we have to do. This is mom's job. And the sooner I get this done after school, the sooner we go home. And so I take on that blue collar, mindset with and still get that scholarly brain going at the same time. So for me, I'm just me, I know everybody asks me that, right? Like, who are you? Right. And I'm a multitude of things. I am comprised of many things. I have many interests. There's days that I like to sit and read a book. There's days that I want to sit and watch movies all day, just like anybody else. And then there's days, more so than not, that I want to be actionable. And I think that that's a big makeup of me, is the action. And that is, changing the world. And how do I do that? And that's kind of where I'm at right now, is what is my greatest passion? What do I want to, step into in this next chapter of my life? Since it was just last Friday that I was confirmed. So it's been a little bit of exciting weekend. Thank you. And Sandra is right there with me, and I love her. She's been a classmate of mine, and a friend and sister, but I think it's important for us to not forget where we came from. And that's the one thing I don't forget that I came off a farm in Oklahoma. And it probably wasn't anything special to anybody else, but it's special to me. It's special. My parents are special. My grandmother is special. She just made history a month ago. So, I'm made up of a lot of things, and I have a lot of interest and now a lot of knowledge that I want to just put out there into the world and make great things happen.
That's truly, truly amazing. Wow. And so you wear many hats, from what I've read: executive, psychologist, mentor, minister, business owner.
Yeah.
How do you stay grounded while managing all of these different hats and roles?
Yeah. As a woman, you probably understand, and probably any woman that is watching this will understand that, we all have our mental breakdowns, and I have them. There are days that I am not 100%. That's all there is to it, and we fight with our family, and we argue, and, those things that we don't want to talk about and we're not transparent about. I'm very transparent. I will tell my family, I'm not 100% today. It's nothing major. It's just my brain's tired. I'm tired. Right. And so I think if we say that, and I will have to say, going through this, the process of becoming a scholar. And that's, when you go through this and you do all the things, you become a scholar as part of your repertoire. Right. But it's, as a psychologist, we start understanding, and we start giving that patience of, just acknowledging that somebody's having a bad day, or that you're not having a good day. And I think that plays a big part of it. But juggling all that is, a ministry, as the two of you ladies know, it's an everyday thing, whether you're ministering to yourself, to your family, to your friends. But I truly feel that when you go out into that world, once you step outside of those doors, you are a minister to everybody that you come in contact with. So that's the first thing. Running businesses, if you're good at it, you can do it. It just depends on what you're doing and how much that takes, whether mentally or physically. And I applaud definitely any woman that is in business for themselves, because it's definitely not a easy task for any of us. And then just, being a mentor, I'm a huge proponent, although I did not write about it in my dissertation. I'm a huge proponent for servant leadership and mentoring and lifting others up. And I'm actually contemplating some other things in this next year that my mom and I have been talking about actually since Friday, and just seeing some other avenues that might be rolling my way. So I'm definitely a proponent for, like making things better in the world. And I'm really bad. I'll tell you, I'm really bad at my patience for not making it good now does not work. So I have to minister to myself. Okay, you gotta have patience. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna let Cece ask her question.
Yeah.
Continue with mine.
I like that because I can completely relate. I like what you said about, when you leave, leave your door, leave your house, and the people that you come into contact with, that you're ministering to those people. And it's so true. So like, on a day to day, a lot of times, you just got to kind of, put on the face per se. And I know a lot of times we mask ourselves, right, to kind of show up and be who we need to be for the people that we need to help. But I'm all like, I know that you're a no nonsense kind of person, Annie, and she doesn't like no mess, y'all. Okay. She's done an amazing job at being, the president at Keiser University for the Student Government Association. She's done an amazing job with that association, and just happy to be a part, in helping students, basically just kind of live their best life. But she goes over and beyond, y'all. She really goes over and beyond, and just not while, wearing the hat and representing the university, but even in her personal, because she'll be having personal counseling calls for everybody. So I want to say that, she's really authentic when she says, like, hey, when she walks out the door, like she's ministering to every person that she comes across. I wanted to go back to you talking about, you helping your grandmother and things of that nature, because I know more about it than our audience does. But, being a caregiver, I know that can be very taxing. That can be, and then being a full-time student and then working for like all the things that you do, right? That's a lot. So how do you like juggle and wear the many hats, just as Yessie was alluding to, but in the form of like the caregiving and the caretaking? Like, how do you handle that on a day-to-day?
Yeah. So, I am not alone. I have a very supportive family. When it comes to my grandmother, my mom shares that burden as well. And I'm not going to say how old she is because she'll probably slap me to sleep. But, it's not a soul. My grandmother's in a nursing home. That's why I decided to go to school, because it's my fourth grandparent that's been into a nursing home or a rehab center. And I just couldn't take it anymore. So the reason that I went back to school to do my undergrad back in, 2017, and to do my master's and PhD was because of these two women and my parents and my grandmother. I refused when in 20 or 30 years, when my mom, needs more help than she does now, because she's killing it now. I never want to put them in that situation. So that's why I went back. I said, I have to give myself the opportunity and the platform that nobody can say no to me, and that I have that educational background. Nobody can say, oh, you don't have your master's, or, oh, you don't have your PhD. Well, now I do. So now what are you going to say? Right. So that's where my mindset was, because it's all about giving myself the opportunity to take care of my family. So the second question is, how do I do it? I don't sleep. There's a little sleep on that, and Dr. Sandra knows that I don't sleep. But however, I have taken the opportunity since last Friday to take a little nap here and there. I've definitely slept more in the last few days than I have in, I don't know. I can't even remember the last time I slept this much. But no, my grandmother is in a nursing home, and we were just there today, and it's usually at least every day or every other day we go over, we do her laundry because that's a whole situation. And everybody asks me, well, how do you do all this? You just do it. In my world, you just do it. There's not an option for failure. I don't have that option for failure. There's not an option to worry about other things. I mean, I do, but I just have to get it done. Are there days that we're dragging? Absolutely, I'm dragging. But I think about what my grandmother sacrificed since 1929. I think about my parents have sacrificed for me. We were just sitting at the table the other night, and I told my mom, I go, thank you so much. Random what we were talking about, for getting me braces when I was a teenager, because I would have so much problems with my teeth at my age now, I turned to her and I was like, if it wasn't for you and Daddy taking care of that, I would be in a different situation. Just those things I think about that they sacrificed, and I'm like, a little bit of sleep, whatever, so you just kind of do it, and then, it hasn't been easy, and those of us that have, went through the journey becoming a PhD, whether, you're at Keiser or Harvard or it doesn't matter where you're at, right? It's a journey. I have to say that we were on a fast track journey. My PhD was fast track. So you're doing a lot of work in a short amount of time. And I did my master's and PhD at the same time. So, it was hard. And I look back and I think I'm insane for doing it, but it's done. And I didn't kill me. And I guess that's the whole saying, is if it doesn't kill you, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So.
Absolutely. I like what you said about just doing it. You don't have the option to fail. And I wish, people would have more of that mindset, because truly, we are successful in everything that we do. I wish people would take on that mindset. Now, people might be saying, hey, Sandra, what are you talking about? We are truly successful in everything that we do. Failure only comes into play is when you begin to doubt yourself, right? So like, say you want to ask someone for something, they can only give you one or two answers, yes or no, right? So I mean, you did, even if they say no, you didn't fail at it, they just told you no, but did you fail at it? No, you asked. So therefore there's a success. So everything is truly all about perspective. We were just talking about that today with the young lady, and I was just saying, everything is really about perspective. There was like, I hope my next year is going to be better. It's like, can we go back and look at, or while we're still in 2025, look at 2025 and say, okay, we said that this year may have sucked for some, it may have been great for others, but even for the ones that say, hey, it sucked, right? Think about, did it make you grow? Right? Did it make you better? Right? Did it make you worse? Even as long as you can recognize what it did for you or did not do for you, that is a win. That is a success. And it's always truly about perspective, because we know, right, in the Word of God, it tells us that, these trials, these tribulations, right, these peopling, these everyday life situations, right, they come to build character, to give you hope, right, to give you strength. So you're always winning. That's why I was like, you can never ever fail, even on your worst day, even on whatever you may think is your worst failure in life, you never fail, right? Because we've been set up to win. We've been given the playbook. We've been given all of the, all the future. We know the past, you know what I'm saying? We're living out our present. So we're winning every day. So I like that you said, hey, just do it. You know what I'm saying? I know Nike got a thing on that, but we're just saying today, just do it, y'all. Don't give yourself, those times where you got to like sit and think about it. I know Brene Brown, she says she gives herself the 3-second rule or something like that. I think maybe 3 or 5 seconds or something. But anyway, she counts. And before that time runs out, like, she's up and she's moving and she's making it happen. So you don't give yourself the kind of, sometimes you talk yourself out of a lot of things. And it sounds like you're not one of those people to kind of talk yourself out of things. You're just like, I know I got to get it done. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to put these feet one in front of the other, and I'm going to make it happen. So congratulations, right, on doing, both those degrees,
Thank you. Thank you.
simultaneously, because that is so tough. An
Yeah.
accelerated program, definitely know all about that. So
Yeah.
hard, compiled on with all of your other stuff. I tell people all the time, like, hey, my brain like is broken. Like people like, oh, you're just, no, my
Right.
brain is really broken. Like,
No, it is. Yeah.
you get a brain
Yeah.
tune up.
Right. Yeah.
Congratulations.
I thank you. I need to plug in. Like like there's those electric chargers everywhere, but I need to plug in and get that brain stimulation going again. But it, Sandra, it is it's nothing that I would change, right? I would never go back and say, oh no, I don't want to do this, because I will tell you, there's a gentleman out of Virginia. They're like family to me, right? I've known them for years and years and years and years. And his name is Rich Herrera, is one of my mentors, and he's on radio. He's going to kill me because I don't know whatever the letters are, right? Out of Virginia, but does I think conservative talk, or I'm not sure of the whole thing, but he's a mentor of mine. And when I started this journey, I asked him to be my mentor. And I have a number of mentors, which I think that everybody should have just in life, right? Just, they might not be called mentors, right? But, friends that will just be honest with you. And he always, kind of giggles, and so doesn't his wife, Liz, who's one of my really dear friends. And he said, listen, the first time that I had a meeting with him, and this is how clear, and this is how impactful you can be as a mentor or a minister to somebody, right? I'll never forget. The first meeting, I mean, he tore me to pieces, right? I was in tears. I'm not going to be able to do this. I was just broke down. And I said, listen, do you think that I can make it through a master's and PhD? Do you think I can do this, a PhD program? And he was like, well, how do you feel about yourself right now? I go, not very good. Cause I was but I asked him not to be nice. I asked him to tell me the truth. I asked him to tear me down and build me back up. That's what I wanted him to do. And it was probably one of the most impactful, experiences I've had. I have a lot of mentors that, oh, you can do this. I'm so proud of you. And that's fantastic. But this guy was brilliant in this. And he comes back a week later and he goes, what did you think? And I said, well, it's interesting. I said, I didn't feel very good about myself afterwards. In fact, I cried the whole night, and he goes, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make you cry, blah, blah, blah. He goes, but what do you think? You think you can do it? And I go, I think I can. I sound like the little toy train, right? And he goes, listen, you want to know what I think? I think that you may not be the smartest person in the room, but there is nobody that is going to outwork you. And that is why I did what I did during school. I made sure that when I did the SGA, I gave it all my everything I had. Whether it was psych, whether it was showing up at residency, whether it was showing up for my student body or my fellow students, or, my sisters like Sandra, showing up and just doing it. I know that Nike owes me some money right now. But just, I just did it because I kept on thinking. That hit me, right? That hit me. I was an athlete for years and years and years, and that hit me the most. And I never forget that. And he was like, you may never be the smartest person in that room when you're going to school, but you will work harder than everybody else. Do you understand that? You are going to be the hardest worker. You will never let anybody outwork you. And I have stuck to that. And I did that when I was an athlete. I was always the first one there, the last one to leave, but I had not been in that mentality mode of the athletic mindset for, years. You go on, you move on with life, family, all that kind of stuff. Right. And that really is what got me through it, is that I had to tell myself, I have to write the paper better. I have to proofread better. I have to show up to every class. I have to tell myself to do that. So that's kind of where all that came from.
Wow, very impressive. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we're actually going to take a quick sponsor break, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
At Cab Zenza, we believe beauty is a ritual, not just a routine. Rooted in intention and inspired by nature, our skincare is crafted to nourish more than just the skin. It nourishes the spirit. Every jar is made with purpose. Because when you flourish inside, it shows on the outside. Cab Zenza's isn't skincare, soul care.
From the moment that I put this Cab Zenza on my skin, it feels most amazing. As you can see, it has your skin glistening. It's moisturizing. You too should get Cab Zenza.
Luxurious body butters.
Yes, Cab Zenza, get it today, because you don't want to walk around with dry, uncomfortable, skin. Like, we're adults. We got to take care of ourselves. So.
I'm telling you, I feel like I need a whole thing going on after this whole defense thing. If you don't mind, I want to give out a shout to my grandmother real quick. Yes. So I told you earlier that she made history in November. She was inducted into the National Daughters of the American Revolution as the oldest inductee.
Woohoo! All right.
I know. On the same day, at the same time, my mom and I were inducted. So we were like the trifecta. They've never had that happen where 3 generations at the exact same time become inducted. And then nobody that old has ever been inducted. And yeah, and she like literally made history, and I did that because I found out that she had started her application 40 years ago and she never finished it. And I said, we're finishing this. So last year, that was our goal. So on top of everything else, I was doing major genealogy there. So shout out to Grammy.
Yes, shout out to Granny. Congratulations to you 3. That is very, very amazing. Another
women making history, man.
That's right. I love it. I love it. And talking about history, so this question is gonna take you to the snapshot of your life, right?
Oh Lord.
Back to today. Throughout your lifespan, right? When did you realize that leadership, servant leadership as well, and psychology were your calling? Tell us about that story.
Well, servant leadership has been that is, I think that was embedded in me with a slap on the head, right? So, when I was growing up, I don't think it was a matter of it. I don't know if it was termed as servant leadership for us, right? But always helping and making somebody else better, lifting them up, doing what you can. And then leadership has always been, kind of bred into my bones, from playing sports to brownies to Girl Scouts, all the different things. I've always just showed up. When I was playing sports, I was the point guard on basketball. I was the catcher on softball, those kinds of things. I was always volunteering to, okay, I'll do it, kind of thing. So I think, but once you take in those roles, whether you're a catcher or you're a doctor, right? You're a leader and people look to you, maybe not necessarily for all the answers, but to lead and to lift. And I think that those are important components that are, I don't know. I want to say they were beaten into me, but they weren't. But it's just something that was a natural thing. So for me to do charity work, like this last week, we've been doing charity work. There's not an option, right? So in our family, there's what? you're not volunteering, you're not doing something, like you have everything. Why are you not, wrapping presents, or why are you not going and serving food, or, so it's not like we ask each other that. It's just, we just do it again. We just do it. So but my servant leadership, as far as like ministry and stuff, I really got that about probably, somewhere between 10 and 15 years ago. And it just kind of overcame me. I have a deacon, he's long passed away now, and he's a big reason why I pursued my education. He was a pusher for that. And I know he's looking down on me smiling today, but he actually wanted me to become a deacon. Before I ever started going back to school, he had brought me into an office and he said, "Why don't you take 3 years and become a deacon?" And I said, "No." I was like, "Have you lost your ever-loving mind? I'm not doing that." And then, so no, let's not do that. Let's take years to become a doctor, right? So he saw it in me then. I love working in the school system, especially with the kids, and inspiring them. And, again, I think it was just built into me from a young age. Like I said, my mom working in the school system is just built into me. If you have to lift others up, you can't walk out on somebody. You can, right? But what are you going to benefit from that? Right. So, I'll stand there until somebody says, "No, I don't want your help." Right. So that's kind of where I'm at. But I think my servant leadership and my calling now is way larger than, just what I've been doing. I just have this, this pull. And I have some lofty goals. As Sandra said in the entrance, she's like, there's some lofty goals that I'm making for this next year. And so yeah, I think it's just a calling. It's hard to explain. It really is.
No, I completely understand. So it sounds like your upbringing and the way that your parents and grandparents values, morals, principles that were instilled upon you reflected at a very young age. And the reason why I'm asking is because there's a correlation with how we are raised to how we come up today. So for the parents looking in at this segment today and wondering what could I do differently to pull the best out of my child? What would be some of the words of encouragement that you would share based on what was instilled upon you that helped you become so successful, that you would have like a food for thought for those parents?
Oh, wow. Discipline. I truly, I don't have children, but I truly believe in discipline, whether I'm an educator, an administrator at a school, or even out in public. I praise parents that discipline their children in public. I was raised, my dad was ex-Marine, and so I was raised with definitely an iron stick for sure. But I think that children need guidelines. Children need baselines. Like, this is your baseline, and you have this much leniency with me, right? Now, we can't say you can go 10 feet, right? We're going to allow this much. And if you go beyond that, then we're going to either have to have a discussion about going beyond that, or, there's consequences for that. But children need discipline and guidelines and structure. And I think with that and love, right? I was very blessed. I might have not have had a lot of money when I was the kid. I was the kid that didn't have a lot of money, right? So my parents worked hard, and I think, but they loved me. We struggled in my teens. I was a rebellious teenager. They loved me, and there's a lot to be said for that. Now, let's pull back. Let's not spoil. Let's love. Like my mom, I never forget my mom every time, and she knows this story. She's like, every time I got on the bus, she's like, smile, be nice and kind to everybody, and have a great day. Every single day. I'll never forget that. And I did my best to do that every day, you know? So I think there's just boundaries. You know, giving somebody, like you guys were talking about earlier, you know, giving everything is not the answer, right? Love is the answer. And my mom was a huge part in that. My grandmothers were a huge part of that. You need to come up to the church and you need to help, or you need to come up to the school and we're going to do this. There was not an option. And I think that is where the turning point is. I think that, you know, don't overload children with going, oh, we've got to go do this and we've got to go do this and da, 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 da. You know, I think balance is a key. Balance to involvement is a key. You know, I want to play this sport and I want to do this and I want to do that. No, well, you need to pick one right now and let's focus on that. And, you know, I know I was at an elementary school and some of the parents thought I was just, awful, right? Because, you're making my children do their homework right after school. Yes, I am. And they'll be better for it. Trust me. And when your children don't have their electronics every day after school and they don't want them anymore and they want to play outside and they want to have conversations with adults and they want to sit there and they use their manners and they say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you, I appreciate it. Oh my gosh, I'm so blessed. Come back and tell me that I'm hard on them. I'm not hard on them. I'm placing a structure that is not placed. There's a difference. So I think that structure and discipline is and love. Right? We have to love. Always tell everybody that you love them. Sandra knows I tell everybody I love them. So I'm always like, I love you. You know, I don't care who you are. So I think those are key.
I love that. I love that you said that about the discipline. I know a lot of people would say, oh, you know, you don't have any kids. How can you tell me how to raise my children? For people like that, right, what I like to say, because before I had kids, right, I always had my opinions too, right, because it's like sometimes you don't know until you walk a mile in their shoes.
Right.
But what I can say is that observations, you know, on the outside looking in, I'm going to be able to see some things that you're not seeing because you're so close to the situation, right? And you can point some things out, you know, will you be 100% spot on? The person that's the observer, no, and also the person that's in it, the actual parent, no, right?
Yeah,
because you can be blind. You have those blind sides, right? Those blind spots,
right,
that you can't see. But yet, I think there's too many choices, even for adults. You know, sometimes I sit back and I love watching kids play at the park. I take my kids to the park often, and they play and stuff. And I just love watching how children interact. But I also like watching how adults interact or the lack thereof. And just looking at adults sometimes. And I just look at us and say, we're all just big kids just trying to figure it out. Because if you don't have a great foundation at home, and I mean a great and you know, foundation, good, you know what I'm saying? Just people that have solid morals and values, you know, to be polite, to have good manners. These things seems like it's a lost art, you know, in our day and age. People have forgotten kind of how to do it, and people get offended, you know, because I tell my kids to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And you can say that to some people. Don't say that in California. They might try to cut you to the white meat, right? But they'll be like, I'm not old. And it's like, no, it's just out of respect. I'm like, call me ma'am. You know what I'm saying? I could be 25, I can be 55, but call me ma'am. I want the respect. You know what I'm saying? Or at least say yes or no. None of that yeah and no and like no, yes or no. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. But we need the discipline, and adults need it too. And so, like I was saying, you know, even watching some of the adults interact or sometimes lack thereof is very telling as well. Because even sometimes I watch children, and I'm not sure if you guys have ever experienced this, and maybe some of the listeners out here have or not, but sometimes you can look at children, you can kind of tell how they're going to be as an adult. You know what I'm saying? You're like, this is going to be the one that
you don't want to. You don't want to, right?
Yeah, because you've met an adult like that. You know, this is going to be like Jane down the street. This is going to be like Tom up the hill, you know, and you kind of see that. And sometimes I look at the kiddos, like sometimes, and I'd be like, which one of these kids was I or am I? You know, sometimes you're trying to place yourself in that kind of thing, which is very interesting. And I see that now, you know, with adults. I'm like, okay, yep, I see how you are and that kind of thing. But we don't know how to communicate. It's like sometimes we'll have these high standards for our children, but we as adults don't live by those same high standards. And so when lives and people tick you off and that kind of stuff, it's really crazy. We were in Tennessee, just yesterday. Very short trip. But in the parking lot, I was waiting while the kids and my husband, they had went tubing and stuff. And I wasn't really liking my husband or my kids, so I didn't go tubing with them. Okay. So I was just having a little me moment. But in the parking lot, there was a family, there was a van, with a couple of dads and moms and stuff. They had little kids. The oldest was probably no more than 6 or 7, maybe 7. But these people were screaming and yelling in the parking lot, and they were cussing and fussing in the parking lot. And I'm like, what is going on? And I was just sitting in the car. They didn't see me sitting in the car. They were probably like parked a couple of cars over, but I was like, what is going on? And I was so embarrassed in that moment in time. I really, really was, because I'm like, one, adults are out here we say acting like kids, but I'm like, no, we're just acting like ignorant adults. So, they were out here just acting just horribly. And I mean, the whole, because there's a line of people waiting to get tube, and there's a restaurant right across the street. The people from the restaurant were even looking like, what is going on down there in the parking lot?
Yeah.
Because of people behaving poorly or people behaving badly. And I'm just like, that is just not a good look. So, I love what you said about, the respect and like how you like parents to discipline their kids in public. I know now it's like, oh, it's against, you can't do that. But I'm like kind of raised old school too. My mom was like, wherever you show out with me that's where I'm going to show out with you. If it's going to be in that grocery market, then I'm going to be right there in that grocery market with you, giving you that swat on the bottom to set you straight and let you know, like, homie, don't play that.
Right.
That kind of thing.
I think it's important to understand that when you said it, it had a nail on the head, right? That a lot of times we see something. I have 20 plus nieces and nephews, so don't tell me I don't have children. Yeah, so that takes on a whole new conversation. And I just had a new niece. Yeah, and niece. Well, they were both born in the last 6 months, so it's a hot mess. But anyway, what I love when parents come up to me as an administrator in the school system and they say, well, little Johnny does not act like this at home. Yes, little Johnny does act like this at home, because little Johnny would not act like this at school if he didn't act like this at home. So I always laugh, and I don't mean to laugh at the parents, but I just, don't protect them so much. I always believe that, if you let a child understand the consequences and you let them and you enforce consequences. So if you say, I had a parent one time at one of the schools that I worked at, and she was fantastic. You don't want to focus on your schoolwork? You don't want to do your grades? Fantastic. You get no door, you get no bed, you're going to get sheets, a pillow, and a sleeping bag. You're going to get your toothbrush when I give it to you. She took everything out of her child's room, everything, put it in the garage and said, as you show me respect, and because I was at a private school, she was like, this costs me money to send you here. And as you show me respect, I'll continue to give you your stuff back. It'll take you a year to get everything back. And she did. And mad respect for that woman, mad respect, because she's like, I'm spending thousands of dollars for you to go to a private school to get a private education. And you want to show up on your report card with C's and D's? That's not happening. You're going to go to public school. Right. And I just love the fact that, there was no entitlement. I don't care. I'll give you your uniform every day and we'll wash it, and you get no TV, you get no cell phone, you get no radio, nothing, right? And it was embarrassing for the child, to talk to me about this. And I go, well, what do you learn? And she goes, I need to buckle down. I need to work harder. And I remember that even going through my PhD and listening to my friend and mentor, Rich Herrera, saying, you work harder than anybody else, right? And so that there's a lot to that, right? If a work ethic, respect, manners, all that kind of coincides. And it's not a lot of work. It's just, here are the guidelines. These are the rules in our house. And when we go outside of the house, this is how you're going to treat people. And if you follow those, it's not going to be perfect. We are human beings and we're not going to be perfect, but we can certainly try to raise the next generation of individuals, human beings that will have that compassion, but yet have that discipline to show up and just do it. Somebody call Nike.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Well said. And I salute that parent as well, who did that, because that is a good way, a good strategic way to say, hey, you do good, I'll reward you. You do bad, I'm going to take the stuff away that you value. So that was
right.
Definitely a genius approach.
Yeah. She was heartbroken. She goes, it kills me as much as it kills them. But she's like, there's nothing affects her child, right? It did not affect her child. Time out. You're on this, or whatever the situation was, right? It wasn't affecting. You take everything away, the reality becomes real. And she was like, I provide you, and my dad used to say this to me all the time. I provide you a roof over your head, a floor to put your bed on. I provide you food. I provide you a comfortable setting, right? And I let you go to school and get an education and all these things. These are all the things that I am providing for you, not asking for anything in return. Do your chores, show up to school, be a leader, show respect. That's all I'm asking. You do your best, forget the rest. And I think we forget that nowadays. Life is not TikTok.
No, at all.
And I think that gets in the way.
Right. Yeah, no, good point. And so with that in mind, looking back on your 30+ year career, what lessons do you wish you had learned sooner that you know now?
Trust myself, especially in business. Go with my gut. Even if it upsets somebody, go with my gut. And that nobody's going to take care of you except for yourself. Right. Mm-hmm. And the family is the only person that you can truly count on. And it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we all end up in the same dirt, right? We all do. We all end up in the same dirt. So it doesn't matter how much money we make. It doesn't matter what businesses we own. It doesn't matter what cars we drive, what clothes we wear, anything like that. We always end up at the same dirt. Everybody has the same conversations when we die, right? Well, where do they want to be buried? And do they want a funeral and all that? So, and it doesn't matter how much money you have. It only matters how much you're going to pay for somebody to eat food at your funeral. So, but if I had anything, I would say just trust myself. If I could go back to when I was 20 or 23, I don't know that I would do anything different because I wouldn't be the person I am today. Right.
I love it.
So I have no regrets on that, but just, I'm going to break it down. As a woman, I would not tolerate the stuff in business that I tolerated, because it's a different world now than it was then. And it was pretty rough back then. As a young, engaging businesswoman, I think I would have done a few things different. Right. And again, it comes back to trusting the process and trusting myself. And really honing in on those skills that I am good at. Negotiation, breaking down barriers, knocking on doors. Don't care if somebody tells me no, but if they tell me no, they better be prepared, because I'm coming back at them. Right. And those are things that I knew I had that, but I didn't hone in on it at the time. Right. So, because we're timid, especially as women, we're really timid. Sometimes we get put in situations, or I've been in meetings where I'm just like, why am I even here and listening to these people? And I'm not saying that there's nothing against men. I don't want to say that. Right. But we are put in a different situation in business where we do have to work harder. So just a few things like that I think that I would do differently. I definitely would not hold the tolerance that I did for the situations that I was put in, whether it be how I was treated, what I was, if I was overlooked for something. I think I would be intolerable of that now. I know I would have been like, bye. See me in 20 years and let me tell you, what do you think of me now? Right. Kind of thing. So, I look at that and but then I sit here and I look and I go, you are strong. You are smart. You are a force to be reckoned with, because I made it through those things. And so I think that there's a lot to be said for that. If we look back on a journey, the road's rough, right? Miles are hard.
Yeah. No,
It does. And from the beginning, from the time we pop out of that womb, right? The miles are hard.
Yes.
But we're still here and we're still standing. And I'm grateful that I've got the years that I have, because a lot of people don't get that journey. I look at my grandmother and, we still have people that are alive that have lived through World War II, that have lived through the Nazi war camps, that have, done all of these things. What do we have to complain about? Somebody tell me. And then the beautiful United States of America, we don't even get me started. We shouldn't have homelessness. There should be no hunger. Children should not go without food or shelter or bedding or anything. We should not be complaining about anything. What I've done in my life has only made me stronger and smarter, right? Because we learn as we go, right? We're not going to be perfect, but what are we complaining about?
Right.
And if we don't like something, change it.
That's true.
And that's what kind of where I am. Like, if I don't like something, change it. It's not a big deal. If you don't want to do business with somebody, it's okay. If you don't like what somebody's saying on the TV, change the channel. If you don't want to listen to the song on the radio, what do? Change the radio. Now we don't even have to really push a button. We can just say, hey, Alexa, do this or whatever, right? Where when I was a kid, I had to go up to the TV and my dad would be like, nope, turn it back to channel 4, turn it to channel 5, right? So we had to physically do these things. We don't even have, we've become such a lazy society. We forgot how good we have it, I mean, I used to go to my grandparents when I was, in 8, 9, 10 years old. I remember the only thing that I could listen to there was NPR. It's like, I'm like, Grandma, do we have a TV? Well, nothing that we're going to be watching, not today. Because she just thought it was just evil.
Garbage. Yeah.
Yeah. We now know that it's not the greatest thing on earth, right? So I think that, if I look back on my 30 years, I would say that, yes, I would be intolerable of how I was treated as a woman, which I've never, and I've talked to Andrea about this, that during my journey, my educational journey, I have become more intuitive of being a woman. You're not going to treat me like that. And that's period. That's it. I don't have to take this. And we don't. If we don't like something, we can just say, you know what? We're not going to do this anymore. You know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. Then we go about our way. When our grandparents were our age or in our 20s, they didn't have options. They didn't have the option. They had to do what they had to do to survive, to live, to have a can of green beans. We have so much, it's not even funny. So as a society now, and I do understand that there are a lot of people in this world that don't have that. And trust me, I'm on that mission, and you guys know it, to make sure that happens. But for the most part, it's available. We could eliminate a lot of societal problems. And that's why I always go back to my grandmother lived through this, stage where it's like the Great Depression and all this kind of stuff and all the wars and stuff. And they made it and we're complaining. And I sit there and go, we can't complain anymore. We just need to make it better for anybody else.
Thank you. Yeah, those were definitely deep words, and I really appreciate you sharing that. And keeping that in mind, and also your focus, your doctoral degree was in industrial and organizational psychology, if I'm remembering correctly, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
how does industrial and organizational psychology help leaders better understand the people, performance, and culture, and just pretty much intertwining it with everything you just shared with us a few moments ago?
Yeah. So my focus, especially in my dissertation, was more of the retail side, but my focus has always been environmental with a cross into how that affects the people. Right. And I'm definitely, listen, I'm not a vegetarian. We cannot save everything in the world. It's just not possible. But I went into IO and not business, and I've been asked this multiple times. So you're not the first person. Everybody's like, well, why didn't you go into environmental, right? Because I wanted something that could cross over into several segments. And so that's the reason I went into IO psychology. And I just felt IO psychology is applicable to anything. You can be a CEO or the president of the United States. And if Sandra had her way... Right, Sandra? Sandra, I'm going to put a time.
Exactly.
So I get this email from Sandra while we were in school, and it says, Andrea for president. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she goes, we need somebody that's just not going to take no for And so she sends it out on this email. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't need this. Not right now. I just need to finish, So it's been an ongoing joke for this, for the whole time. But as an IO psychologist, you can affect, and I say affect, businesses and people. You can affect change. And much larger than I'm not anybody on here. I'm not discrediting anybody's position, right? But you can truly affect change. And that is why I pursued that degree and that platform, is to affect change, whether it be in the personnel sector. In my case, I want it to be on a larger legislative, global, even, writing legislation, maybe running for office one day. It's been thrown out there a few times. So it just depends, but really affect change. And that's what I'm about is, like I said in the beginning, when I walk out the door, I'm ministering, whether it's, hey, you can do this, this, and this, or whether it's, we need to pray and, wake somebody up, right? Whoever that is. So I'm definitely a woman of faith. And I just think IO fits into that. It is a different path. Everybody, when I meet people, and I don't know how Sandra is on this because I know she's an IO psychologist as well. But when I meet people, they're like, oh, well, can I get my child scheduled with you? And no, because that's not what I do. I can definitely come and be the principal of your school, and we can, put in some guidelines and some rules, but I am not going to, that's not my forte. I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to affect change. And there's a lot of change that needs to be done in the real world, especially in the workplace. And we see it. Sandra and I know about it. We've wrote about it. We've read about it. We've done all this stuff. Now it's our job as IO psychologists to go out and affect change at whatever level that you want to do that at, right? Mine is more of a global stance, definitely at the national level. And I intend to do it for sure.
Amazing. Yes, yes, yes. See, Andrea, I have a couple more questions. I want to make sure before I ask mine. Did you have any additional ones for Dr.
No,
Swink?
we're good. We're tracking right along. Go ahead. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Awesome. Yes. So this is going to be more on the lighter note. This Harley, when I read that on your bio, I'm like, that's really cool. So the Harley that you ride, what does that mean to you when you have that freedom on the road? What does that represent to you?
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna get to able to ride it now, and I actually want to get rid of it and change out. It's probably my, I don't even know how many I've had, but I think I'm ready to go back to either a Fat Boy or something like that. But as far as for me, a lot. First of all, I can't ride on the back of somebody's motorcycle. It drives me crazy. I have to have control. I think that's the PhD in us, right? Having a little bit of control in those situations. But, being a woman, again, it was really important for me. I played, when we lived in Oklahoma, I played a big part in the HOG chapter, which is the Harley Owners Group, but the ladies Harley Owners Group. And I love that for women. We've lost some friends along the way that were writing and that were women. And it's just a freedom that we have. Again, as women, we have that freedom to get on the back of a machine that has traditionally been a man's world. And what I love about Harley Davidson in particular is not because it's Harley Davidson. It's because they really have embraced the woman rider. And I will tell you, though, as a woman riding that motorcycle, I mean, I pull up on mine. Of course, mine's, I'll have to send you a picture, but mine's pretty decked out. But, I pull up on a motorcycle and people are looking not at me, but going, holy, like this lady's riding this bike. And I do the same thing when a woman, drives up next to me and she's on a Harley. I'm not looking at the girl. I'm looking at the bike going, oh my gosh, that's a da, 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 whatever. And, it's just, but what I love about it is that I just clear my head. I don't think about a thing. I don't even like to stop at stoplights and stop signs. I like to get out on that open road and just go. And I think that that's what a motorcyclist does and loves to do. And I used to ride all the time. And then when I got into school, we spend a lot of time behind the computer. So it'll be exciting to get back on the road and get that done. So
That's amazing. And I can see that how you light up. I can tell that's definitely one of your face just lit up when you spoke about it. So that's amazing.
It is. I love to work on my own bike. I love to change things up. I have a passion for cars and motorcycles and trucks and anything machines, so it's I'm a Ford girl. I love my Ford. So I'm definitely, sorry, Chevy. But and that again comes from my granddads and my dad and getting out there and doing the work on the vehicle, and that's a thing, right? And I sit there and I see these videos of these little girls and their dads are showing them how to work on a car or a truck or something like that. And I just see me, like, that's what my granddads did. And that's what my dad did. And my dad said, I've never been out on a date where I didn't drive. My dad's like, you will never be put in a position where you can't get out of the situation. I always drove. So for parents that have little girls, let your daughter drive. Let them drive on a date. Let them meet the man there, the boy there, and they can drive separately, but never put your daughter in a situation that they can't get out of. But I also was taught how to drive a motorcycle, how to drive a tractor. I was driving a tractor at 6. How to drive a tractor, ride a horse, drive a stick shift, all that, because my dad was adamant you will never be put. I can get in a semi truck. I might not be able to do it all, but you can at least get yourself out of the situation. And so that's kind of where the motorcycle came from. So I've been riding, three-wheelers and everything since I was little.
Wow, your dad sounds amazing. He definitely did go to show you all of that. That's
yes, yeah, he's fantastic. My mom is too. They're amazing individuals.
Yeah, they both sound truly amazing. So we appreciate you sharing a glimpse into your life or family's life, how they were with you. That's very impressive for sure.
Yeah.
And so as we approach our closing, right, and now we're going to pivot over to our last minute words. What's next for you? How can people stay connected with you? How they can find you, etc.?
Yeah, so you can definitely find me on Instagram. I don't really do TikTok. Everybody's trying. I have a TikTok, but I don't really use it. But definitely on Instagram at The Real Dr. Andrea Swink. So that's really how they can get a hold of me. And then if they reach out, also on LinkedIn, they can message me. They can find my name, Andrea Swink, on LinkedIn. So that's what's next. Well, we're defining that. I definitely have some work projects highlighting graduate students and blue collar workers. And so I'm working on some of those projects this next year, and hopefully that we can get those uplifted and going. I really am looking at, I've already been approached. If I've been approached once, 10 times in the last 5 days to run for office. I'm not going to put it out there that I am or I'm not. Those are things that I definitely have to talk to my family about and discuss at what level of work that we would want to do that at. And I say we because just like school, your family sacrifices, just like veterans, your family sacrifices. But there's a lot of things that need to change. And no matter what, like you, love you, don't like you, don't love you, right? I truly believe in the betterment for everybody. And I have to figure out how I'm going to do that. I want to write or finish writing the legislation for my dissertation, which is curtailing our retail waste, disposable waste that goes into the trash, whether it be food or hard goods, and really affecting change by writing legislation, getting on that global scale and getting a united front to where that food that, and I'm talking about water bottles, like cases of water, macaroni, whatever, or pillows, jackets, clothing, that kind of stuff, does not go in our landfills anymore, and it is distributed back out into communities. So that is a huge passion of mine. I am definitely adamant about making change there. We do not have the FDA, the EPA. They don't regulate all that kind of stuff. We think that they did in our minds, but we should be learning about that kind of stuff. So I'm very passionate about that and making things better. And we have to start here before we can go globally. But a lot of global effects that, as far as incoming goods. So yeah, we're trying to, I've been approached for a couple of books. And so just trying to navigate it right now. I'm just hanging out with family and friends and really just taking a deep breath before the grand start of 2026. So super excited to see what's ahead.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Well, I wish you the best in whatever you do. I know you're going to do amazing things overall. So my hats off to you. We're super excited and thrilled that you were able to join us today. And hopefully in the new year, you'll be able to join us again so you can fill us in on the new updates that you have going on. Yes.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed this. And I think it's, as we approach the 2026, we have to put everything behind us and we have to come into the new year. And if you're, you're not certain on that, I'm not certain. We're not, there's no guarantees in life. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. All we can do is work on today and be grateful for today. And we'll figure out tomorrow when we wake up tomorrow and and we address it. But yeah, I've had a great time, and I love you guys very much. There you go. I love you guys. And what a fabulous conversation that we have, and yeah, just do better for everybody else. And like I said, we're not going to be perfect. There's no way. There's no way. There's only one person in this world that's perfect, and that's, Lord and Savior above. So everything else is just like a candy shop. We're just in here shopping.
That's right. That's right. That is true story.
Yes. We're just shopping. We're figuring out what Nike shoe we want, right? Yeah. So yeah. So I loved it. It was great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, don't go anywhere. We're not quite done yet. We're going to allow Cece to do her last minute words and food for thought or quote or whatever it is she wants to share.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's been a joy just having you on, and I'm looking forward to seeing you do all the amazing things. I know we're right there, two peas in a pod, changing the world to make it a better place. I mean, people think the world is so big, but it really isn't. And we have to do our part to make it better, for ourselves, for our children, and for our children's children, and our neighbors, right? Because we're one big community. So with that being said, I'm your girl, Sandra the Actions with Inspire for Purpose and Girls with Gigs. And I just want to simply say, my quote is just to remember that nothing ever, anything, right, that you think, I always say this, remember, nothing positive ever came from negative thinking. So you always got to keep a positive mindset about everything. And you can find me, at the website at inspireforpurpose.com or girlswithgigs.com and all things social media. And so happy holidays to each and every one of you out there. We love you all so much. And thank you for being a part of Hoy En Día TV. For all the viewers and listeners that are out there, we appreciate your support, and just, enjoy that, you enjoy listening to us talk with real people, having real conversations, and making so many wonderful changes in the world just like you. So happy holidays to each and every one of you.
Oh, that's so great. I love her.
Yeah,
I love her.
Cece is truly remarkable. Like I'm really honored that God sent her my way through Nadine. So, and Nadine also, she's not here today with us, but she's another amazing and just remarkable individual. So
I want to ask you a question. What's your favorite part about the holidays? Yes. You keep asking. You have all the questions to ask us. And so what's your favorite part about the holidays?
Honestly, the favorite part is just spending time with my family, right? And just unwinding. I'm a gamer, so I love being able to turn on my Xbox and play my The Division for a little bit and become a virtual agent saving the world. Because that's pretty much what The Division is you're an agent and you're recruited to help people. You're like serving people. You're helping. You're getting rid of the bad guys. You're collecting different resources, food, clothing, to bring back to your people to help the communities grow. But throughout the game, you do have to, kill a couple people. The bad guys gotta go.
Gotta kill the bad guys.
It's fun to just like dive in and just my honey is a gamer too, so we both like cheer each other on. He says when I play it looks like a movie, which is, I guess, is a good thing.
Yeah.
So
I'm not a gamer. I've never been a gamer, but again, I was outside. I was, riding horses. I was a barrel racer. I did all these things outside. So I've never done that. I get bored really easy with that kind of stuff too. But I love it when people are, right? Because I'm fascinated how they can like stay engaged and understand. And also, you would be surprised, but I'm like, well, what are they doing? And I forget to press the buttons, and it doesn't. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I understand. No, I completely understand. I get it. I think for me, it was part of my upbringing, right? So in high school, gaming, I started at an early age, I would say around like 9 or 10, but in high school was a part of a nonprofit organization called Strive Media Institute. And because of Strive, I was able to become acquainted with filmography, editing, graphics, the whole mass communication, learning, how to edit and create content. And because of that, I got even more fascinated, because when I wasn't doing that, I was in my room either listening to music, writing books. So I have, like, when I was a teenager, I have at least 15 books that I wrote that I've never published. I actually have to go in my storage to find them, because I would love to publish them. Maybe they might inspire another teenager, you know, because those were literally written when I was a teenager. And then listening to music and playing video games, I was pretty much and I also worked at a bakery part-time. So that was pretty much my life. That was my rotation. And I grew with that mentality. And that's why I'm able to do everything today.
Yeah. So, yeah. We had a professor that was a big gamer, and she's amazing, but the lingo, it's a different lingo, right? And so it is definitely beyond my comprehension of I don't know. I've never done that. So it's a whole, I get bored with, you know, the little games on your phone or whatever. I've tried it and I can't do it. I'm not a fictional reader either. I cannot read fiction. It has to be like autobiographies or factual books or something like that. I don't get into the whole what are those romance novels and stuff. So my grandmother was like that. My mom loves like Danielle Steele and all that kind of stuff, and she loves that kind of stuff, and it's great, but I can't do it. My grandmother's like, if you're gonna, you know, put your mind to work, let's do it for good, right? So I follow her footsteps a lot. So but yeah, that's fantastic. And that's what it's all about, you know, being with family and really just engaging with each other and taking that time. But I want to wish
so it sounds like, I was going to say, it sounds like you're going to do something similar, right? Unwind, spend time with family.
Yeah. So we had a lot of family down here before Thanksgiving. So we did our Thanksgiving then. And then we're relaxing. This last week, we took over 200 gifts to the nursing home where my grandmother's at. And they were all homemade. So you were talking about that earlier. We had all homemade gifts for the residents and for all of the staff that takes care of Grammy and all those other beautiful people that are there. And so they all get their Christmas gifts. I think they get them tomorrow, maybe. I'm not sure. But when we were bringing them in, their eyes were like lighting up, right? And it's not, we have to be careful about what we give the residents. So we try to give them stuff that they can like hang on their wall or something like that. And the more able a resident is, we can give them a little bit different stuff, right? So that's the other thing is if people want to do something, you know, nursing homes, a lot of people in nursing homes don't have families.
Oh, wow.
They're probably 75% of the people that are my grandmothers are ward of the state.
Interesting. That's good to know.
So it's always to check that out and say, hey, do you have what's the percentage is usually what you ask. What's the percentage of residents that do not have family? And they'll tell you, they'll be like, oh, we have 50% that don't have family with their ward of the state. Now, assisted living's a completely different ballgame. We all know that, but just a nursing home or a rehab center is different. They're usually not a lot of them have families, and if they do, it's not active families. So yeah, we really like to engage and give back. And it's just been a really busy December.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you shared that, because that's a really good opportunity for those who are ready and want to get back to the community is reach out to your local nursing homes or rehab centers and make your way there. Show somebody some good support, love,
right.
And just show them that someone does care about them, right? Because sometimes it can be lonely. I can only imagine what those people are going through. So especially when there's no family there, that can definitely be tough.
And they also need to adopt a resident too, you know, so adopt, you know, kind of just like not go in and just pick and choose, right? But just be like, can we adopt I use the word adopt, but can we adopt a resident that needs a family year round? And maybe you find out when their birthday is, or, Easter, maybe they celebrate, maybe they're Jewish, maybe they're this, maybe they're that. It doesn't matter, right? But just knowing that a lot of times, I'll tell you, my grandmother goes in and she just wants to talk. And the other thing she wants to hold my hand because she needs that contact, right?
Mm-hmm.
That contact. The other thing is we do a lot with the VA, within the VA system, and try to volunteer as much as we can through the veterans. And you can go to your VA center, or American Legion, or the Elks Lodge, which we're a member of. You can do all these things that are so much more valuable than buying a gift. And the same way with schools, find out the children that are in need. You'd be surprised at how many don't have beds. That's a food for thought. You wouldn't think that, right?
Wow, yeah. I really appreciate you sharing all that. And that's good food for thought for the audience and listeners to.
Yeah, especially during this time.
Right, exactly. And that's what we're here for. That's what Hoy En Día is, to positively motivate, educate, inspire, and entertain you all, the viewers and listeners, with each and every episode. And I know we did that today with our amazing guest. So shout out to Dr. Andrea Swink and my amazing co-host, Dr. Ciandra, the Actionist. And we also have 2 more sponsor commercials. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And then I will close out with my last minute words. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Sponsored by Collective Wear, available at www.yessierodriguez.com/shop and myrod-enterprise.com/shop.
Sponsored by Divine Beauty and Accessories. Watch Hoy En Día TV, Thursday, 7:30 p.m.
All right. For those who want to be a guest on Hoy En Día TV or sponsor Hoy En Día TV, we welcome you with open arms. Simply email hoyendiatv@gmail.com. That email is scrolling at the bottom of your page view or your window view. If you're looking through your cell phone or laptop, it is scrolling hoyendiatv@gmail.com. And for those who want to know more about me, who is Yessie Rodriguez? Well, hey, very easy peasy. Just go on your Google, Safari, Internet Explorer, type in YESSE Rodriguez, and voila, I pull right up for you. I'm a professional actress, model, MC, podcaster, a little bit of everything, pretty much. Even a notary, believe it or not. So if you need notary services, call your girl up. Yeah, state of North Carolina, notary, just saying.
You know what? You said that, and that just cracked me up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a professional. I'm a certified proofreader and copy editor. So there you go.
See, we have a little bit of everything here.
We do.
You do not have to go far. If you need a service, I guarantee amongst people here and even Nadine, we're going to have it for you. We're more than likely going to have a service that you need. Hey, this is women power for real. But wishing you all a wonderful, happy, and safe holiday season. And like I always say, the sky is never the limit because the galaxies are endless. So thank you all for tuning into Hoy En Día. Until next time.
Love you guys.